7-year hiatus. Depression, addiction, dementia, writer's block. A hell of a lot's gone on in the 7 years between albums, but Snow Patrol are back with Wildness. Welcome back to another video, and if you're new, why don't you check out some of the other stuff, and if you are, oh god, that sounded terrible, if you like it, subscribe. This is the band's first album since 2011's Fallen Empires. This is their 7th studio album, and I mentioned in the intro that it took 7 years for this to actually come to fruition. Gary Lightyear, is that his name? Gary Lightbody said in a recent interview, I think it was with Joe Wiley, how he suffered from a huge bout of writer's block. I think this album was originally supposed to be scheduled for 2016, and it was 2017, and it finally came out this year. He also stated in the same interview that he'd been battling with drink and drug addiction, as well as huge bouts of depression, which he'd been suffering from since childhood. All of this would go on to have a huge effect on the writing of this album. A lot of the lyrics he's clearly wearing his heart on his sleeve and being more revealing than ever. It's a very personal album, this one. This piece was actually filmed after the bit you're just about to see, but how? I'll just quickly read a brief piece from the interview. He said that he couldn't be more proud of the finished piece. It took a lot out of me. I wanted it to be right, and it wasn't right until recently. The music had been written a while, the lyrics took a lot longer. I wanted to delve deeper than I had ever gone before and talk about things I had never spoken about. Some of it is heavy stuff, but I don't think the album is heavy. It's quite hopeful. It comes from a lot of heavy soul searching. I am sober now for 2 years, and I am able to speak about it with clarity and with hope. These things are not just sort of open-ended in a way where they feel like a lost cause. I'm actually talking about these things in a way that I have tried to deal with them positively, and hopefully people will hear that in the record. The forest of the mind. Well, more just a forest. Okay, so the first song on the album is Life on Earth, and what a lovely little start it is. Gary's vocals sound great, very expressive, very emotional, as they do throughout the entirety of the album. This is fucking freaking me out. Why do I come out here for this stuff? Yeah, it's a slow build on this one, acoustic. There's a lot of it's done acoustically, actually. Or at least acoustic guitar, I believe it is called, acousticy strum thing. But it builds up. But it builds up with bass and drums joining in. I'll just read out the opening lyrics for you. The first snow, the first winter of my life. I was told it was the height of me, the first dance, or the first one that counted. Felt like my blood was built from my crackling lights. Decent track, good start to an album. Next up we have Don't Give In. There's something on the camera. This is built around a tribal sounding, almost sampled drum that gives the song a nice bit of drive. Get some decent guitars joining towards the end of the song. This was originally written about a friend of Gary's who was going through a very bad time, and Gary started writing a song about it, and basically throughout the writing realised that he was actually talking about himself and the depression that he's been dealing with since childhood. It's in your blood and it's in your making, so don't hold your tongue, because it's no longer working. Don't fall on your sword, just follow your instinct, like an old lesson learned, Very much enjoyed this song, great track. Next up, Exploratory shit, even though I've been here before. There's a few more electronic elements in this, but it's based mainly around an acoustic guitar. Can you heal me, baby? I've been dancing in this fire for way too long, but I kinda like it. Though I like it because it's more dangerous than me. There's a siren somewhere, but I'm pretty sure it's only in my head. So tell me, how do you hear it? Is there something supernatural in your bones? Not a bad song, but there was nothing that particularly leapt out at me about this one either. What am I running from in here? Next up is Empress. This started out with some great drums. I particularly enjoyed the drum sound on this album. I thought it had a pretty decent production overall as well, to be fair. You're angry, but you don't know how to be that yet. It seems too much went wrong and all at once. Resistance seems impossible from down this low, and surely no one else can feel this. Yeah, I really love the chorus on this one. I think some of Gary's lyrics are pretty goddamn awesome. on this album. Well, aren't you an insightful little fucker? A dark switch is up next. An almost dancey type vibe on the drums and a funky guitar line. We also get the inclusion of some strings, which I'm always a fan of. It has to be said the drums are quite simplistic on a lot of the album, but I don't mean that in a bad way. It's like they serve a purpose. They really set the tempo. That's kind of what drums do. And there were some really nice guitars around the 3-minute mark. Hello? Your hands found a dark switch in me that I didn't know existed. The lost tribes in the back of my brain, making fires from what they've stacked for years in secret. Fucking great lyrics, man. You sweaty Betty. I think I'm coming down with something. Shit review-itis. What if this is all the love you ever get? This is a piano-led piece. Definitely a reflective song. Quite a lot of that on this album. It's definitely a song, it's definitely one of those albums that seems to be aware of mortality, I guess. Whoa, what if this is all the love you ever get? Whoa, you'd do a couple of things differently, I bet. Whoa, what if this is all the love I ever know? Whoa, I'd say the word that was so hard to say. Don't go. Whoa, no, oh, that was it. Very heartfelt, beautifully performed. Great song, really enjoyed this one. Next up, A Youth Written in Fire. I assume that this song is about addiction. Remember the first time we got high? We felt like the rabid lion's roar. We were elastic, and then we were healed in the blinking of an eye. And then when the dawn cracked over us, the day wouldn't hit us hard at all. We could ride the morning into light again. We knew the days were there to waste. But these days, that light hits so heavy, and those days feel like another life. It's that thing when you hit that point in life where you're an old enough fucker to relate to these lyrics. That's what's depressing. A lot of uses of electronic sounds in this one, very snappy drums. Again, particularly enjoyed the production of this song. Really good, despite my age. Next up is one of the standout songs on the album for me, Soon. This one's written about Gary's father who's suffering from dementia. Very heartfelt, personal song. Again, this was in another interview. I can't remember where this one was from, I'm afraid, but he said a song called Soon on the album had been written for his dad, and which time travels back to his childhood with his father, just seeing me and him together again in that time forever in the palace of his mind. I think I should read lyrics again, as is my way. Soon you'll not remember anything, but then someday neither will I. Tomorrow, though, is nothing to fear, because, Father, it's always today. Life won't flash before your eyes, instead will fall away then melt like snow. The secret storms of your wild youth, now just gentle breezes, warm and faint. Yeah, I really enjoyed the way the song built towards the end as well. Standout track for me, fantastic. We're at the penultimate track already, Wild Horses. What in Chuff's name has been going on here? Some great use of drumming on this one. Had a guitar line as well that kind of reminded me a little of Primal Scream's Moving On Up, which is no bad thing. I didn't say it was. Before the percussion kicks in, really amps it up into a dancier direction. Really enjoyed the pre-chorus before building into the chorus? The chorus, yes, the chorus. What are you holding back? I know you've wild horses on the inside of you. Now slip the tattoo on, serenity, it scorns your every move. I pick you up and know you don't have time without it. I know I don't know much, but I do know when to preach. I really enjoyed this one a lot. I'm just going to venture down this way a touch. Should I? Final song on the album is Life and Death. Very electronic sounding this one again. Kind of reminded me of Melancholia Hymns or parts of it from Arcane Roots. Didn't you do a review of that album? I did, but I would never be so vulgar as to self-promote in such a foul and blatant way. No, I don't know how it ends, for both of us. But why would you need to know the end, my dear? So don't crash into everything. To make your point, let's get out of the way of us. Some distorted guitars join in towards the end of the song and it builds up towards a nice climax and makes a suitable album closer. It's worth pointing out that I actually have the deluxe edition, which contains an extra 5 songs, but I'm not going to bother going into those because they're alternate versions of 5 of the songs that are on this album already. But I think for an extra £1 or whatever it is, I think it's probably worth getting it. It's a really nice booklet that you get with it. It's pretty nice package with some nice pictures as well, which is always lovely. In terms of a score, I'd probably give this a 7 out of 10. There are a couple of tracks on it that I wasn't so bothered about. I wouldn't go as far as to say filler, but they didn't grab me as much as the others. But the songs that did really grabbed me. There's certainly a lot to enjoy on here. The stuff that is good is very, very good indeed. For any fan of Snow Patrol already, you're going to love this album. For anybody else who's just interested in hearing a well-crafted batch of very expressive songs, then you could do a lot worse than checking out this album. Some great stuff on it. 7 out of 10. What is good is really solid. Great. So, what have I got coming up next? Well, my next review will be Jonathan Davis with his latest album, Black Labyrinth. Well, his only solo album. It's been a long time coming. 10 years ago, I think he wrote it. And after that, I'm going to have a review of Bleeding Through's album. They returned this year. But next week, I'm going to have a few different things coming out next week. Ghost are finally releasing their much anticipated album. Surely one of the most anticipated metal albums of the year. And hang on in there, but I think I'm going to take a look at the Kanye West album. He's probably one of the biggest acts on the planet. So I can't say I've ever really bothered checking out much of his music. So why not? Why not? Might just give that a go as something different. But plenty coming up. Might even have a look at the Father John Misty album that's coming out as well. I believe that's supposed to be coming out. So that should be plenty of metal reviews coming up. And I've got a few random reviews as well. Trying to fit a few more of those in now. So yes, if you enjoyed what you saw, why would you? Then subscribe, get notifications, comment, share, all the rest of the blah 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 and fucking do that.